Yo guys, and welcome back to the first weekly request in quite some time now. For those unfamiliar, the weekly request series is a series that happens every Friday where you, the audience, the viewers, the voters can decide on which creation I make on the following Friday. And of course, for this week's Friday's winner, as you all voted for, it is the Jowwi-Managarmr hybrids. And this has been a very interesting creation. And the biggest thing by far, you probably noticed in the beginning there was, I kind of needed a Managarmr first, which is why I had to rather quickly pump one out earlier this week. Very happy about how it came out, of course, but it was crucial that I had, you know, a Managarmr first before I presented a Managarmr hybrid. And I have to say, guys, for the first weekly request in a long time, it is really, really cool that you all wanted a Jowwi hybrid. That, can I just say, you know, that's really, really touching, so thank you. So, as for the creation itself, like I said, how to start with a Managarmr, that way I can have, like, the general posture and such. When it comes to the Jowwi hybrids, so I try to focus on the general, like, posture and form and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Because the hybrids so far have been following a rather consistent pattern of being like the Jowwi colours, having the frills, having the horns, the sails, all that kind of stuff. Because all of that is very heavily Jowwi orientated, I've gone into the habit of making the hybrids have the actual body and form be much more closer leaning to the other half of the creature. Sometimes I'll mish and mash, sometimes I'll combine, you know, the raptor form with whatever else it is I'm making. But in this scenario here, I wanted it to be like a very strict Managarmr form. Which is why I started with the Managarmr creation, toned all the, like, chucked away all the details, everything about it, all the features. The only thing I kept in the end was the base posture, the back feet, because they were a nightmare to make anyway, I wasn't going to redo them. And of course the face, because that being another thing when it comes to the Jowwi hybrids, I like to try and retain the face. And with the Managarmr, it's got like a very wolfish kind of grin and all that kind of stuff. So again, I wanted to keep that in, especially because the usual consistent Jowwi eyes were going to overpower it quite a bit anyway. I didn't want the face just to be... Basically, I don't want the head to just be an outright Jowwi head slapped onto the creation. That will look very, very odd, which is why I tend to keep and retain the original head, but then add features on top of that. As you can see here, we have the big happy eyes, we have some lizard nostrils instead of the, you know, the mammal nose that the Managarmr had previously. I've got rid of the giant horns. Are they horns or ears? I'm not actually sure. I can't remember off the top of my head. But either way, I've removed the large Managarmr horn things and replaced them with giant ears. That way it's a little bit more mammalian. And it, you know, still again resembles the original creature. But of course, added in the usual Jowwi frills, made them a bit smaller, a bit more tucked away. And I added in the horns. You know, the very typical, the two horns on their forehead. But I ended up making them a lot smaller because... with the large ears there, it felt like the large horns were just really out of place. And I felt like toning them back a bit will still give, you know, that Jowwi vibe without being too overpowering. Like, again, trying to get the whole hybrid thing together. And then I added eyebrows to the eyes because it was looking very, very derpy. When it came to the wings, so another bit of a thing I like to do, I really like to focus on consistency. What I didn't want to have happen was just to have not only the same wings as before and, you know, not change anything, but I also wanted the wings to be the same kind of, look like it's made out of the same material or whatever as the frills, hence why I've used the same part for them. That way when it textures, it's going to texture like I just said, like it's made out of the same material, the same colours and everything. It's basically just big flaps of skin, and if I can keep that consistent, it'll flow together, as opposed to having the, what was it, like the kind of shimmery bat wings that I had previously. You know, I didn't really want that in this. It felt a little bit too out of place, and again, you know, trying to take away from the Managarmr and adding more and more features here and there. I did adjust the back feet slightly, so I did keep like the general Managarmr feet, but I made the claws a bit bigger, I made them darker, and I added some little scaly areas on the feet. That way, again, just a little bit less mammalian, a little bit more reptilian. Added the trademark sails, of course, the trademark spine. And since the Managarmr's got like a very fluffy tail anyway, I decided to swap that fluff for, again, more sails, more spines. Quite similar to the Jowwi, except these ones are vertical, not horizontal. Which doesn't really make much of a difference, to be fair. It's just like, again, little subtle changes. as I was progressing on the creature, I'd pretty much gotten all the features I wanted, and it still felt a little bit... It felt a bit plain. I didn't want to finish it already. So I ended up returning back some of the fur that I had removed beforehand, because it's just like, it's one of those features that, again, you know, trying to have it like a little bit heavy on the Managarmr side because the Jowwi features are so prominent and it's already taken over quite a bit. If I can just return some of the fur back, even if it's in like different positioning, different patterns and a different coloration, it just means, you know, good, we're returning a bit more of the Managarmr, which it itself, you know, is a bit of a fluffy / leathery creature. It was pretty much a hybrid by itself, so we're kind of making a hybrid of a hybrid. And of course, having that trail of fur running down the tail, just covering the entire back. Now, before we see the outcome of our wonderful hybrid, let's go ahead then and take a look at this week's weekly request. You can see all of these in the poll on the upper right hand corner. These 5 creatures were all the 5 top voted ones in the previous video. So we had the Desert Titan from Ark, the Spinosaurus Cod hybrid, which was a very surprising one to see, an Umbrian Houndoom Pokefusion, and then 2 Flight Rising creatures, a Shadowbinder and a Windsinger. Quite funny to have the 2 Flight Rising ones, but hey, it's quite clear what you guys are after, isn't it? So as always, go ahead and vote on the upper right hand corner, and also keep those suggestions coming. I'm always checking out the comment section below, and if we want to keep doing a whole, you know, the top voted ones for the next poll, we can do that. If not, I'll just pick the ones I like, the ones I think you'll like, and we'll add those to the next polls in the future. Now, for the actual creation itself, here is our Jowwi-Managarmr hybrid. I have to say, so this wasn't actually in the process, this took a little bit of working afterwards. I had to quickly add the necklace in, I'd forgotten about the, you know, the trademark necklace, but also the patterns around the sides. When it came to texturing it, just chucking on the general Jowwi colour scheme just felt really lackluster. I wanted a bit of that Managarmr corruption back in, the element augmentations, I wanted to get all that back in, and in the end I actually found a really awesome balance by using a very mottled rocky black texture around the sides, not around the belly like the Managarmr, but around the sides because, you know, sport limitations. Can't get everything that we want here, can we? And then having some of the light blue coloured spheres, I was able to embed them in such a way that kind of makes it those 2 when really every blue stripe that you see or blue pair is actually just one piece. And overall, I really love how this came out. I think this is another great hybrid in my opinion. I really like it, and I particularly like, as I said earlier, trying to keep certain themes consistent, such as the wings being the same texture as the sails, such as the frills, all that kind of stuff. And that, you know, having a bit of a nice contrast to the rest of the body, it kind of mimics in a way like an inverted mimic of the original Managarmr, which had very vivid, bright wings, and the rest of its body was fairly pale. I really like how this came out, and I am very grateful that you guys suggested this, so thank you very much. Like I said, keep the comments coming, let me know what you want to see next, and we'll vote upon it in the next weekly request next Friday. As always guys, thank you so much, and I will see you all then. Cheers.